The modern world does not want men to be savage. It wants them domesticated, predictable, compliant. Above all, it wants them tame. You were taught that a good man is a quiet man, a man who suppresses his instincts, a man who treats his primal drive for soft comfort, a man who neuters his own presence. As someone who taught theories of gender and sexuality, I call it something else: surrender. We have trained an entire generation of men to fear their own power, to mistake self-castration for self-command. Modern culture calls raw masculinity toxic. They are wrong. Raw instinct is not the danger. A domesticated man is the danger. A harmless man is the danger. A tame man is easily broken, easily bought, easily owned. True savagery isn't cruelty. It isn't violence. It isn't domination. It isn't going rogue like Colonel Kurtz in Apocalypse Now. It's something much rarer. Modern civilization forgot what it looks like. Let's remember who the savage man actually is. Not through superficial hacks, but through a radical restructuring of your life. An untamable man doesn't wait for safety. He steps into friction deliberately. He's aware that compliance is a slow death. He understands that his survival depends on an ancient truth: a man without teeth cannot protect anything. Watch a predator that's had its teeth pulled. It still carries the skin of a wolf, but the moment it needs to protect the pack, it is helpless. A lion without claws is still magnificent until something weaker depends on him. A predator without teeth or claws is just livestock. And I don't mean that you need to start bar fights or act like an unhinged tyrant. That's not strength. That's fragile theater. I'm telling you to examine a far more subtle tragedy. Look around you, millions of grown men living on emotional probation, nodding along to things they despise, suffocating their primal drive, laughing along at insults to protect their comfort. That isn't kindness, it's self-preservation. They agree to stay comfortable. They yield to avoid judgment. They soften to keep the peace. Eventually, they lose their voice entirely. A domesticating culture loves a castrated man. It fears raw masculinity. It loves the man who no longer governs himself. It breeds ghosts. Yes, men. Spectators. Ghosts are much easier to manage. Most men today are psychological refugees, exiled from their own instincts. They've lost any sense of their significance. They no longer know which parts of themselves they're allowed to trust. A ghost asks for permission for his opinions, for his ambition, for his desires, for his own existence. To become a savage man, you must master self-command. And it begins where modern civilization told you not to look: your instincts. It begins by reclaiming the dark territory society forced you to abandon: your primal drive. This isn't about puffing out your chest or raising your voice. Noise is cheap. Shouting is what a weak man does when his nervous system breaks. Real power is quiet. It doesn't require witnesses. Stop apologizing for your drive. Stop sanitizing your edge. When your biology demands that you conquer, conquer. When your conviction demands that you speak, speak. And speak without cushioning your tone. When your instincts tell you to work until the room goes dark, Do it. And by conquer, I mean conquer your craft, conquer your limitations, conquer the part of yourself that keeps choosing comfort. Let that fire burn without shame, without asking for permission. Most men are not afraid of their weakness. They're afraid of their own primal force. They fear that if they unleash their drive, society will reject them. So they play small, they play harmless. Performative softness is a cloak weak men wear to hide from their own capacity for authority, their own capacity for strength, for leadership. Let's think for a second. What does it look like? A man stepping into a room without shrinking his own power. He doesn't scan for permission. He holds his posture with unyielding weight. When he speaks from his chest, from his heart, from his core. When he moves, the room naturally clears a path. This is what self-command gives you. Not hostility, but weight. A man who commands his own wildness broadcasts an indisputable reality. He says, I cannot be domesticated. I will not be managed. Self-command is your ultimate defense against a culture that profits off of your docility. It is the living proof that you're a man who belongs to himself. In Batman Begins, Bruce Wayne's master never asks him to suppress his rage. He teaches him to master it. Strength becomes dangerous only when no one is governing it. He teaches Batman that raw instinct is useless until it is harnessed by absolute willpower. The fear Batman strikes into criminals doesn't come from just being wild. It comes from being completely untamable, yet totally governed. Look at another favorite, Marcus Aurelius. He ruled an empire, but his greatest battle wasn't Rome, it was himself. He knew that a man who cannot rule his own impulses is just a slave wearing a crown. When a man masters self-command, his entire frequency changes. People realize instinctively that he's not a man to be managed. And not because you made a scene, but because you put your wild instincts on an iron leash. And a beast on an iron leash answers to only one master, you. But instincts alone aren't enough. Once you have mastered your internal fire, you must direct that raw energy into conquest. You must give that fire concrete territory. Every cathedral began as one man's impossible vision. If first you must practice self-command, then you must channel your strength into an untamable objective. If first you build your presence, then you must stake your territory. Self-command changes how you master yourself. A non-negotiable aim changes how you master the world. One gives you iron composure, the other gives you absolute authority over your own life. Together, they create a man who cannot be bought because he responds to a higher law. A domesticating civilization doesn't fear a soft man. It fears a focused man with fire in his heart and a singular target. Not because he dominates others, but because he no longer can be dominated himself. Society has spent decades flooding your environment with cheap comforts, pre-packaged pursuits, and endless digital sedation. A domesticating culture thrives on your lack of direction. It doesn't want you to build a legacy. It wants you primarily to consume. The system wants you on a steady diet of artificial rewards. Endless scrolling, instant pleasures, and low-stakes distractions. All these things drain your ambition before it can ever become dangerous. The system wants your horizon small so your life stays easy to control. Comfort is a gilded cage. A man without a mission will trade his freedom for free food. Most men today don't build, they drift. They inherit someone else's calendar, someone else's dreams, someone else's definition of success. They build someone else's empire. They surrender their prime years for a paycheck and a soft couch. The elimination of raw, singular ambition is the final step of your domestication. Reclaim your aim. Refuse comfort. Become difficult to buy. A man who has nothing bigger than himself to fight for is a man who will compromise on everything. If you do not stake your own territory in this world, someone else will happily draft you into building theirs. To become truly savage, you must pair self-command with an unyielding, high-stakes aim. And just like mastering your presence, this does not require a revolutionary movement. It just requires one decision, the staking of your territory. Pick one domain in your life and demand mastery. Choose your battleground. A craft, a business, a family, an iron physical standard. Domains that refuse to yield easily. Domains that demand every drop of your raw masculine vitality. A worthy aim changes the man pursuing it. Suddenly, the distractions lose their spell. You stop seeking approval from weak sources. A man who knows where he's going, who moves with singular intent, and cannot be bribed by ease. That is a man who's truly savage. That is the man the system cannot domesticate. He cannot be distracted. He cannot be corrupted. His aim is his armor. Watch a man with an uncompromising aim. He walks differently. He stands differently. He wastes fewer words. He no longer negotiates with distraction. That's not just ambition, that's sovereignty. When you stand inside a world of comfortable men, and you're the only one who cannot be swayed by cheap validation, something powerful happens. Not because you hate the world, not because you're fleeing from life, but because you've staked your flag on a mountain of your own choosing. That's the savage man. Govern your instincts, sharpen your edge, stake your territory, pay the price of greatness. Become the man a comfortable world can never tame. An untamable man isn't untamable because he creates chaos. He's untamable because there is no longer a price tag on his soul. Modern civilization cannot manage that man. It cannot tame him. It cannot bribe him. It cannot replace him. That is a savage man.